Hello and welcome to Cinder Shadow Gaming. I am your host, Cinder Shadow, and this is an updated ban and restricted video announcement. Oh boy, it's Monday, and the ban and restricted announcement is large. Well, our favorite planeswalker, Oko, Thief of Crowns, is banned in Standard and Brawl. The card is... This just signifies how broken the card really is and how poorly R&D really did the research on this type of mechanic with the food and the making elks. The season of the elk is over. They are dead. They have been hunted to extinction. Let's all be grateful that maybe someone for their Thanksgiving dinner will be eating a nice roasted elk. On top of that, we've got Once Upon a Time. Now, Once Upon a Time is a 2-mana, 1 green, 1 generic. If it's the first spell you cast at during a game, then you get to cast it for 0 mana, which is absolutely inherently broken. And this type of degeneracy of a card should have never made it into the standard meta. This should have been something maybe printed for a Modern Horizons set. Maybe a reprint in the future will go for Modern Horizons. This was something that we did see a little bit in a Legacy style format, because it cuts your deck down, and when you're playing Legacy, it's all about the lower amount of cards in your deck. This lets you fetch down the first 4 cards for a land or a creature, which in the current Cascade event that's going on in MTG Arena, the card Once Upon a Time is inherently broken and should have been banned outright from the event, because straight up before anything happens, you can do this and get a 1 casted creature down on the board and be able to swing once it's your turn as if it was a hasted creature. It's absolutely something that should never have made the meta in the first place. So I think the poor choice of the decision with R&D once again having that card out there. Now, Veil of Summer. We saw an earlier banning for Pioneer for Veil of Summer. This is one of those cards that is a sideboard only card for the most part. People kinda were main decking it at the Mythic Championship. I think there was something like 16 main decks, but over 1,000 copies of this card were in sideboards, which is absolutely unheard of for a sideboard card. You know this card inherently was completely busted in that case when you have to sideboard it, or when it starts being mainboarded as a sideboard only card. For 1 green mana, it's an instant from Core 2020. You draw a card if an opponent casts a blue or black spell this turn. So not only does it replace itself, it cuts down your deck, but spells you control can't be countered this turn, and you and permanents you control gain hexproof from blue and from black until end of turn. So these are the 3 major cards that were banned in Standard. In Arena, they do replace your wild cards if you had wild cards. So if you had 4 copies of Oko, you got 4 mythic wild cards. If you had 4 copies of Once Upon a Time, you got 4 rare wild cards. And same with Veil of Summer, because it's an uncommon, they gave you 4 uncommon wild cards. Now, Veil of Summer was an uncommon that was upwards close to the $10 range at one point when it did come down to cards. And at $10, a uncommon from Core Set 2020, that's absolutely unheard of for a core set to have an uncommon come out that is that strong. And I think that was a really significant factor in why they were banning an uncommon that's mainly a sideboard card. We saw it get the Banhammer in Pioneer, although it seemed a little premature, but it was Pioneer was doing bannings instead of an off cycle. They just do bannings every Monday when they need to, type of thing. Other things that were banned, well, Oko was also banned in 100% of Brawl now. Now you cannot use them at all anywhere in any Brawl game. So it is nice to see that they took that effect forward. It doesn't mean that you can't use him for Commander. As for Commander, I don't think he would be that inherently broken, because Commander is a much more different and unified system, where Brawl only goes off the standard meta. This is a card that just is too oppressive in the standard meta, and I think that's why Oko saw the banhammer also completely. The other two things that came out, we have a Renin 6, which is a Modern Horizons 2-casted Planeswalker. It's 1 green, 1 red. He is a 3 loyalty Planeswalker, legendary Planeswalker Ren. This is pretty much the Rocketing Groot embodiment when it comes to Magic the Gathering. Their +1 is return up to 1 target land from your graveyard to your hand. It's a -1 deals 1 damage to any target, and a -7 is you get an emblem with instant and sorcery cards in your graveyard have retrace. Now, this card was completely banned from Legacy. I'm not really surprised there. It screams as a Legacy card. A 2-mana Planeswalker is unheard of, and honestly, if it's banned in Legacy, we might be seeing bans in Modern coming down the line once things get added to it that really evolve the way the card is. But in Legacy, where you have Wasteland appropriate, you sack that Wasteland and you bring it back, or there's so many degenerate things you can do with the 2-mana Planeswalker, and I think that's part of the reasons why it's being banned. In Vintage, we now see Narset, Partner of Veils, the War of the Spark Narset, being restricted. You're only allowed to have 1 copy in your deck, and Narset is a 2 blue and 1 generic with 5 loyalty. Each opponent can't draw a card and draw more than 1 card each turn, and for a -2, you look at the top 4. You may reveal a non-creature, non-land card from among them, put in your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So, these dates, the tabletop date is November 22nd, which is this Friday, I believe. Actually, no, I think that's Thursday, isn't it? No, that's Friday. That is this Friday. So this coming up, FNM, please do be aware of that. And then the Arena announcement of November 18th. And online, Magic Online was November 18th, which is today. We're not seeing a week-long wait for like we did with Field of the Dead. These have been banned as of today. Thank God they pulled the trigger on Oko, as it was obviously something that was a problem. The next banned and restricted announcement will be December 16th, 2019, which is only a month away, so they are obviously watching more of the meta, and it is nice to see if they're going to go continue on with these monthly look at bans. Even if it comes down as nothing's getting banned, it is nice to have more contact in this instead of once a quarter. So, what they're saying here is, over the past several weeks, the standard metagame has been in a completely unhealthy, unplayable state. So we're taking significant steps to rectify it. 2 major issues are the dominance of Simic-based food decks featuring Oko, Thief of Crowns, and the general over-representation of green in the competitive metagame. While when it was at almost 70% of the Mythic Championship Richmond, they needed to do something. Food decks featuring Oko have been the most popular and most winning for majority of Throne of Eldraine standard season. Accumulated almost 70% of the decks at Richmond. Based on that data from high-ranked Arena traditional best-of-3 play, only one of the other 10 most played decks, Simic Flash, had a favorable matchup against Simic Food-based decks, and only just above 50%. Food decks maintained an average of about 53% non-mirror match win rate, even with the metagame focused on beating them. So really, Simic Food has warped Standard. This is them saying Simic Food in general is and has become part of the problem. Oko has also reduced metagame diversity and diversity of gameplay in Standard by shutting off build-around creatures and artifacts. Ultimately, Oko's power level has proven higher than is healthy for the current metagame and higher than intended for future environments, including Theros and Forward. So that means Oko is not going to be unbanned anytime soon. That is great news. I am glad to see that. To address Green's general dominance, they're also choosing to remove Once Upon a Time and Veil of Summer from the environment. Alongside Oko, Once Upon a Time is one of the key reasons Green has been overrepresented in the environment. It contributes to a high consistency of strong starts and provides a level of early mana fixing that other colors don't have access to, which is 100% correct. When you're free casting a spell right out of the gate, you're able to mana fix, you're able to do so many things so early. This advantage is especially important in the context of a small 5-set standard card pool with less flexible mana bases. Arena data indicates that without also removing Once Upon a Time, green decks would still be too powerful and consistent going forward. And I still think they're going to be powerful and consistent going forward because they didn't drop the hammer on the goose. So we may still yet see more bannings, and I think that's why we have a month away. Finally, Veil of Summer is also playing an important role in preventing the metagame from being able to self-correct. Cards that played similar roles in the past are like Autumn's Veil, which is spells you control can't be countered by blue or black spells, and creatures you control can't be the target of blue or black spells, and Display of Dominance, which is a choose one, destroy target blue or black permanent, non-creature permanent, and permanents you control can't be the target of blue or black spells. That one's 2 mana. Provided a lower power point than desired in the representative standard environments, leaving green with the weaker option compared to the other color hate cards of those cycles. Veil of Summer is at the other end of the spectrum. It is much more efficient than the other cards in the cycle, and by comparison to other tools available in Standard. Gives green decks too much resilience against removal and disruption. We believe these changes are necessary and sufficient to open up the Standard mana game to a much higher degree of diversity and resulting environment going forward with much more closely matched design intent. What it means for the bannings to your arena collections and pack colorations, we don't really care. Brawl, Oko, same thing. It's still a standard environment and needs to be gone. Since the adoption of Wrenn and 6 for Legacy, Temur Delver variants have become dominant in Legacy. In online Magic play over the recent weeks, Temur Delver has maintained a 56.5% win rate and earned over 3 times as many 5-0 finishers in the deck. Most importantly, it has a favorable matchup against each of the other 10 most played decks. While a strong card in general, Wrenn and 6 is especially powerful in Legacy because its interaction with Wasteland, like I said earlier in the video. And a historic prevalence of metagame defining 1 toughness creatures like Mother of Runes, which is a 1 mana 1/1 target creature you control gains protection from the color of your choice until end of turn. Guardian of Therion, that's a 2 mana white 2/1 first strike non-creature spells, costs 1 more to cast. And Young Pyromancer, which is a 2/1 creature for 2 mana. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 1/1 red creature token. Prior to the addition of Wrenn and 6 to Temur Delver decks, the Legacy metagame was generally looking healthy. In order to weaken Temur Delver decks and bring the metagame into a better balance, Wrenn and 6 is banned in Legacy. And finally, for the Vintage, follow up with the recent changes to the restricted list and results of the Eternal Weekend North America 2019. We're making 1 additional additional change in the context of fast mana and efficient card draw availability in Vintage, Narset, Partner of Veils, is contributing to a one-sided game at a higher degree than is healthy in order to reduce the frequency at which an early Narset static ability soft locks the opposing player out of the game. Narset is restricted. So they're saying Narset isn't inherently broken, but it needs to be scaled back a little bit just so it doesn't become a very broken one-sided game. And that's kind of where Narset's going to be headed in Arena very soon. So, on these bannings, what do you think of the bannings? Did they miss the mark? Did they hit it on the nose? I think they got a start. I think we still will see some bannings in the future because we're now going to see the rise of Cavalcade Thorban decks very soon. The mono red deck out there has so many options to it right now that you don't know where to prioritize how mono red is going to go, if it's going to become a red black, red green, or mono red mix, or even a Boros red-white mix. We will see where things land with that. I do see Mardu Knights and the Sacrifice decks gaining traction with these bans. However, they're going to need to ban the Oven, I think, at this rate, because the Witch's Oven with Recursion of the Cat combo right now, it makes it very tedious and very annoying to play against. And when those 1 point pingers become 2, 3, 4 point pingers, things are going to become inherently broken in that. We'll see here in the next month. We do have a month to recoup and see how the metagame flushes itself out. We will see a deck rise here soon that will consist of a red base, so we know things are still going to be inherently broken in the standard metagame, and it's not going to return to a healthy state for a while. Theros, Beyond Death, may actually do more of a shakeup than these bannings will, but at least for now, those bannings are giving you credit back for the wildcards that people maybe spent or packs that they did open into wildcards, so you have a little bit more option going forward. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching this ban and restricted update announcement, and please do like and subscribe to the channel. Please, as my fan base, share the video out and about. I hope I'm doing things possible as well as I can here. Going forward, hopefully we're still on the air. Until next time, though, I will see you guys again.